Welcome back to the Puddin' Creek Rod Shop. Now, do you guys put all this old junk all over your walls, or is it just me? Maybe it's just me. One of our viewers was watching some of those episodes about the Ojai Coupe, and he said, I put on a car show in Ojai, California several years ago, and I've got dash plaques left over. Anyway, long story short, he sent us a couple to hang up in the shop. I thought that was pretty cool. Well, honey, hush, my favorite sedan delivery from back in the day. Do you guys remember Barry Lobeck's Wicked Express? I mean, that was a cool car back in the day. Right there's that purple monster. I've got the engine for the bad coupe all covered up and just patiently waiting because I don't want any grinding dust to get on it. Matter of fact, speaking of the bad coupe, brakes over. Let's get it. Now you're probably saying to yourself, hey, Puddin' Creek, you told Jimmy as soon as he got that 4-speed transmission rebuilt, you was going to paint it purple to match the engine. Why in the world are you putting the old wore-out transmission mount back on it and no purple paint? Well, we need it for mock-up. Before we paint it, I need to put it back in the frame because we've got to build that new cross member, and I want it in the frame and in position so I can kind of build my cross member around it. I don't want to do any guessing. I want to know just exactly where the transmission's going to sit. Now, if you're running behind on watching all the Puddin' Creek videos, let me tell you where we're at. This car, when it was originally built in the 1970s, someone built a cross member under it out of an old bed frame. And you're saying, what kind of a bed frame? A flatbed truck bed frame? No, a bed you sleep in bed frame. Anyway, we cut all that out in a previous video, and we cut all the extra humps and bumps and woolly bullies and pieces of angle iron. We cut all the junk out from the inside of the frame, and now we've got it down to just the two original 1932 Ford frame rails, and we're going to mock this transmission up right where it'll be in the finished project, and that way we can build a brand new cross member to replace the old bed frame cross member, and that's our project for today. Now, if you've watched our videos before, you know we're really into doing things period correct. When we were working on the Ojai Coupe, we were trying to only do things period correct for the 1940s. But this car, the bad coupe, this car was built in the 1970s. So we want to build a cross member that's period correct for the 1970s. So we did a little homework by breaking out our collection of 1970s hot rod magazines and rod and custom magazines and street rodder magazines. And on this issue right here of Street Rodder magazine, right on the inside cover, we found this X-member or a cross member that you could have ordered in the 1970s. So if you could have ordered it in the 1970s, that would have to be period correct for the 1970s. And we're going to try to build one that looks like it. It won't be exactly like it because we have to build it to fit the transmission we're using, the T10. So it will be similar, but not exactly. But we're going to build it in the style of this cross member. And to me, that's going to be period correct. Now, I've got the tail housing of the transmission just setting loose on the rear transmission cross member there. It's not bolted or anything. And I've got the front supported by this stack of boards, chunks of wood, and 2x4s. And I know it looks sketchy. But I put a safety strap on it there on the input shaft. And I ran that up to a heavy angle iron cross member under the dash. And that ought to hold it all kind of in place until I can get it raised up and get underneath it and get it bolted in place. You know what the old saying is, if you're scared, say you're scared. I ain't scared. Now, if you guys remember, I found these old, rusty, aftermarket X-member pieces out in my container. I didn't buy them new. I really don't know what they were bought for, what they were meant for. They look kind of like 35 through 40 Ford X-members, but the aftermarket version of them. Anyway, I'm sure they're not made for a 32 Ford, and that's what we got to do. We got to adapt them to work for this 32 Ford. Now, I mean, right off the bat, you can see this is going to be a problem. The new X-member there almost touches the transmission, so there's going to be no room for the Hurst shifter linkage. So we're going to have to do some slicing and dicing to make this work. Up front here on the other end, you can see that's going to be a problem. The clutch fork is going to hit the cross member there, and I've still got to get the hydraulic cylinder to operate the clutch fork, all that, and a bracket in here. So we're going to need a bunch of clearance. Well, there's a passenger side end. Now you can kind of get an idea of what we're shooting for here. As you can see, this is not like a model car kit. This is not going to just go together. We're going to have to do a lot of cutting and heating and bending and fitting and to make all this work. But this gives you a general idea kind of what I'm looking at. Now you can see right here, old Henry Ford put a boss right there where that body mount bolt is. So there's a boss sticking down on the frame rail, so we won't be able to mount our new cross member on top of that. It's going to have to go behind that boss. So I'm going to say let's set it back like 1/8 of an inch behind that boss, and that's what we'll kind of shoot for. Now, the first thing we need to do is make a pattern of the end of this aftermarket cross member, because we need to fit it back into the original 32 Ford frame rails, and we need to kind of know where it's going to land and how it's going to fit. So to make my pattern, I'm using this book board. You know, this is kind of stuff you'd make a hardback book out of. I got these on Amazon. I've really liked these for patterns lately. They're kind of stiff and dense, and they really make nice patterns. The ones on Amazon were 12 inches by 12-inch squares. I bought a whole stack of them. I'd like to find these in bigger sheets. If you know a source for this book board material, or gray board some people call it, in bigger sheets, put it in the comments for me. Now, I know some of you are saying, "Hey, Puddin' Creek, how come you hadn't pulled the body off the car yet before you start on the cross member?" Well, we're going to put the cross member on with the body on the car. And I know what you're saying, Puddin' Creek, Puddin' Creek, Puddin' Creek. What kind of East Tennessee hillbilly Jethro Bodine kind of hot rodding is that? Well, I agree with you. It'd be a whole lot easier to put that crossmember in if it was just a bare frame and the body wasn't on there. But hear me out. Whenever they built this car in the 1970s, I think they started with the frame, and then they laid a sheet of aluminum on top of the frame and made a floorboard. So the floor in this car is aluminum, and it seems to be attached to the frame mainly instead of the body. And then they must have set the shell of the body down over the aluminum floor, and then they just kind of started filling in with sheet metal here and there to make a complete body. So you see where I'm going with this. If we try to take the body off, the floor is not going to come with it. It's not really one complete solid unit. So the body's going to be basically just a shell while we're trying to lift it off, and it's going to flex and it's going to move, and then we're going to lose all that lacquer paint that's chipped and cracked already. We'll have more blue and purple paint on the floor than we do the car. And the paint job is the main thing we're trying to preserve on this car. To me, that's the most important thing. That's the coolest part of it that was applied in the 1970s by a 16-year-old kid. So whatever we do not want to mess up the paint on this car. So long story short, we're putting the crossmember in from under the car. Now, right here with my pattern, I'm doing two things. I'm trying to see where this is going to fit back in the recess of the frame rail and exactly how close to that boss I can get. And I'm also trying to determine what angle I want to bend that out at to be sure and have plenty of clearance for the clutch fork and all the transmission shifter linkages there and everything. So I've got two things I'm trying to figure out here: where it's going to locate in the frame and what angle that I'm bending at. Now, another thing I'd like to have is I'd like to have our new X member sitting right on top of this hairpin mount. You can see back in the day, they made these kind of crude hairpin mounts, but they made them out of good heavy steel. The biggest problem I see with them is that they attached them to the bottom of the frame rail, which is only 1/8 inch steel. So the hairpin mount itself is nice and heavy, but what it's attached to is not very stiff. So if we could get that X member in there and get that doubled up, that would make it a lot stiffer. Now you might be saying, what about the welds, Puddin' Creek? Those welds look like crap. Well, those are stick welds, and like I've said before, stick welds hold pretty good. And my opinion on welds is we don't need them x-rayed by a weld tech. They've been on there since the 1970s and they haven't cracked yet. I'd say they're good welds. Well, the first test fit was close, but no prize. I had to bring it back to the workbench and cut those wedges out a little bit wider, and I'm going to have to heat it up and bend it on over a little bit more. Now, you guys saw I just had a little short pattern there. I didn't really have a pattern of the whole cross member to stick in there and fit, so I was just eyeballing that angle, and as you can see, I had to bend it quite a bit more. My eyeball was off, which is no big deal. That's the way this is going to go, in and out and in and out. I mean, this is, there's no science to this. It's just test it and try it and fit it and cut it and heat it and bend it and weld it and bolt it, whatever it takes. That should be the motto at the Puddin Creek Rod Shop, whatever it takes. Here we go again. Same song, second verse. Well, good night, nurse. That's not half bad. Now, I mean, I've just got it propped up with a welding clamp. It's just kind of laying in the hole there. It's not really mounted or anything, but that looks pretty doggone good. We got some clearance for our shifter linkage now. I'm liking this pretty good. Now, this is just the very beginning of the process. As you can see, we've got a lot of work to do back here at the back. It's not even close to the frame rail in the back. How you like that Puddin Creek cross member support? I knew you guys would like that. I'm going to need some more bend in that big radius. It's at about the middle of the cross member, so I'm going to cut another notch in it and heat it up and bend it on around. Now, to be able to bend this, not only am I going to have to cut through the side flange, but I have to cut down below that radius there to be able to bend it. I want just flat metal left to heat and bend. And, of course, you got to cut through both sides. Now, when you guys are heating up steel like this to bend, this is only 1/8 inch thick steel. You just want it kind of a dull red. This camera is kind of deceiving. It makes it look like it's really, 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 really bright red, cherry red hot, almost white, yellow hot, but it's not really that hot. That's just the camera doing that. Kind of a dull red is all you need. If you get it too hot, it starts blistering and puddling the metal. You don't want that. You just want it dull red and thin metal like this 1/8 inch. It'll bend right where you want it to go, no problem whatsoever. Now, this thing had two bends from the factory right in this area, and it had kind of a flat spot right in between the two bends, so I picked the center of that flat spot to make my bend, which will be a third bend. That gives it a nice radius there, nice and curvy and sleek. I like things curvy, don't you guys? Looky there. Now, we're going to need a pretty good bend on the back end of these things. And instead of doing it like I did the front, where I made a small slot and then had to recut it and recut it and recut it, forget all that mess. I'm just going to go ahead and put a 90-degree notch in these, a nice big notch, and I'll bend it around wherever it needs to be, and then I'll just make a wedge to weld right back in there. I have to weld up the other end anyway. Now, back at the rear of the frame, it narrows a little bit. There's a kick up, and also they Z'd the frame back there at the back, and they really modified that bottom lip of the frame. Anyway, long story short, this width of this cross member we're making is not going to fit in there, so we're going to have to slice a piece off of it, get it in there, and then fit it and weld it back in. It'll be kicked up at a little bit of an angle, the bottom piece here. Well, I was just working up a storm, and then my air hose coupler decided its productive life was over. And don't look like the hose is doing much better. And no, I didn't put that piece of wire on there. I have hose clamps. I think this hose came from an auction or something. You know your old buddy Puddin' Creek ain't buying brand new air hoses. If you buy everything brand new, pretty soon the gravy starts getting awful thin at home. You know what I mean? Now, some of you guys have asked me, hey, Puddin' Creek, how long you been doing this? Well, I ordered this pack of hose ferrules here, brand new, back in 1995 from a Master Car, and I've still got them in the original package. It's a little yellowed by now, but this ain't my first rodeo. Now, I really like this method of doing an air hose end. It's nice and clean, doesn't catch on anything. You know, if you do a hose clamp catches on everything you drag it past, and it's always hitting the backside of your hand when you're trying to use a blow nozzle or something. So I ordered these crimping pliers a long time ago and these brass ferrules, and I mean, this works pretty doggone slick. I think you guys are going to like this. Chee bug, that's a fine hose crimp. Well, I was using that little body saw to cut these crossmember parts, and then all of a sudden it occurred to me, I've got this brand new Milwaukee saber saw with the blades that have carbide teeth that the little woman picked up for me back when I was pancaking the rear crossmember on the Ojai Coupe. Why in the world am I not using that? Now, before I weld up any of these slits I've cut in this crossmember, I want to bolt both ends into the frame. Yeah, you heard me right. Bolt them in. I know that's going to make some of you a little uneasy. There's a whole crowd out there that just said bolt it in. Why in the world are you going to bolt it in? Weld that baby in there or hot rivet it in there. Well, that would be the normal way to do it. And if we had the frame off, the body off the frame, and had the frame sandblasted, and we was doing it the normal way, that's what I would do. But up close to the front here, I don't really want to be welding around all this finished lacquer paint. And around the back, we could do a little welding. We might do some. But up front, I'm going to put 4 bolts in it. We're going to bolt it in, grade 8 bolts. I'm not going to drill the holes clearance size. I'm going to drill them 3/8 and use 3/8 bolts so they're tight. They don't move around. And I think that's going to give us a good, sturdy support, good, sturdy cross member. I mean, you got to think before it had a cross member made out of a bed frame that somebody had torched apart in the center. So the cross member wasn't even going from one frame rail to the other. Basically, he had that high output race car 302 engine in it, full race 302, and no cross member whatsoever. So whatever we do here is going to be way better than what we had, and we're going to make sure it's nice and rigid and solid. You guys just stick with me. Your old buddy Puddin' Creek wouldn't let you down. All right, I got one hole drilled through the frame and got a bolt in it. I used this little piece of wood shim to kind of line up the frame rail with the cross member there. I'm trying to set the cross member in 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the frame. And then I got to drill a second hole right after lunch. Me and the boys hitched up our saddles and rode to Sonora last night. Guns hanging proud and daring out loud for anyone who's looking to fight. Car cheats and rustlers would run for their holes when the boys, the old broken old, rode up and rained on the street that they named Sonora's Death Row. Mezcal was free in Amanda's saloon for the boys of the old broken old. Saturday nights in the town of Sonora are best in all Mexico. Guitars and trumpets and sweet senoritas who don't want to let you go. You never believed such a gay, happy time in a place called Sonora's Death Row. Well, inside Amanda's we was a-dancing with all of Amanda's gals. I'd won some silver at 7-card stud, so I was out doing my pals. The whiskey and mezcal and pesos and cigars, they drove me outside for some air. Somebody whispered your life or your money. I reached, but my gun wasn't there. I woke up face down in Amanda's back alley, aware of the fool I had been. Crawled to my pony and grabbed my Winchester and entered Amanda's again. Well, I saw my partners a-twirling my pistols, throwing my money around. Blinded by anger, I jacked the lever, and one of them fell to the ground. Amanda's went silent like night in the desert. My friend stared in pure disbelief. Amanda was kneeling beside the dead cowboy, the lady expressing her grief. I bowed my head night a tremor shot through me. My 6-gun was still at my side. I reached in my pockets and there was my money. I fell to my knees and I cried. The nightmare of mezcal was all that it was, for no one had robbed me at all. Outside I hear the gallows they're testing somewhere beyond my wall. And mezcal's still free in Amanda's saloon for the boys from the old broken old. I'd give a ransom to drink there today and be free of Sonora's death row. Pay a ransom to drink there today and be free of Sonora's death row. Ah, that's an old cowboy song that I've sang off and on for years and years. As a matter of fact, I was singing that song back in 1989 or might have been 1990. That summer of 89 or 90, I had a standing gig to play at a little local place called the Chucky Trading Post. If you guys are from East Tennessee, you'll probably remember it. It was a popular place. They had live music through the week and on the weekends, and they served Mexican food, really good Mexican food. Anyway, that summer I played there solo by myself. The gig paid $25, and you got a free meal and whatever you could earn in tips. Now, tips in the late 1980s, they weren't very big. I mean, usually if somebody tipped the singer, it was $1, maybe $2 if they really liked you. But I was singing that song you just heard there back in 1989 or 1990, and a guy came in with his wife, and I guess he just loved cowboy songs. And he came up to the stage after I sang that song, and he said, "Man, oh man, that was good." He said, "I tell you what I'm going to do." He said, "Every time you sing me a good cowboy song, I'm going to drop $10 in your tip bucket." And good googly moogly, $10 tip every time I sing a cowboy song. So immediately I hit him with Marshall Tucker's "This Old Cowboy," and he dropped another 10 in my bucket. And then I hit him with Waylon and Willie's "Mama, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys," and he dropped another 10 in my bucket. Anyway, long story short, I was just laying them cowboy songs on him left and right. I had a whole fistful of cowboy songs I could sing for him. And after about 10 songs, he waved his hands in defeat, and he said, "You wore me out, buddy. You cleaned me out. You cleaned my plow. I'm done, but I really enjoyed it." So I got $100 in tips that night just for singing cowboy songs, plus the other piddly tips I got. Oh, and $25 pay for playing the gig and free plate of enchiladas. I mean, that was a good night for a young man trying to work his way through machine shop school. Now, as a side note to this story, about that same era, another guy you might have heard of was playing the Chucky Trading Post, just solo, and that was a guy named Kenny Chesney. Yeah, he was going to ETSU in Johnson City, Tennessee, and on the weekends, just like me, he was playing the Chucky Trading Post for $25 and tips and a free meal. And Kenny Chesney, not long after that, got a big giant recording contract. And he went on to have videos all over CMT and CMT Awards, and he married a movie star, and he got to sing with Jimmy Buffett. And your old buddy Puddin' Creek, I got $25 and a plate of enchiladas. I put this piece of aluminum in here to kind of space the frame cross member down to where it's kind of going to be. I plan on using some 1/8 inch steel plate to go across the top of these two to tie the two sides together, and then some real heavy plate on the bottom, maybe 3/16 or maybe even 1/4 inch to tie the bottom halves together. Looking back toward the back at the new frame cross member there, we've got the piece now where it fits inside the frame rails. We need to push this back to the proper location, an 1/8 inch in, just like we did from the front, and then we'll have to drill a hole through the cross member and through the frame and get a bolt in there. Down at the bottom, you remember we cut that piece out, and we're going to have to weld that back in with the proper kick-up on it to match the kick-up on the frame. So you can see right here, we've got plenty of work to do. Break's over. Let's get it. Now you boys will have to look over this first tack weld. Evidently my gas pressure regulator had got knocked out of adjustment. Yeah, I was probably the one that knocked it out of adjustment. But anyway, I didn't have any shielding gas on that first spot. Now, an old machinist I used to work with called this pasteboard. I call it cardboard, but either way, it doesn't make very good pattern material. This bookboard material or gray board makes much cleaner, tighter patterns. I mean, you talk about a fine piece of Chinese engineering, this little baby right here. General Chow's manufacturing team, they were knocking out of the park the day they dropped this little baby off the assembly line. Now, I've made a few modifications to it. I turned the switch around and made a different bracket so the automatic shutoff works way better. And I made this vertical saw table attachment for it. And that's actually really handy. That actually works great. And it's only 2 screws to pull it on and off. And most importantly, I put a big giant counterweight on it here because when you raise the head all the way up, it wanted to tip over backwards. So now it's got a counterweight on it. I mean, I want you to look at that fine piece of Chinese machine tool. Now, I use my copper backup plate method to weld these filler pieces in. You guys have seen me use copper plate before to back up thin sheet metal when I'm welding it to prevent burn through. I'm not worried about burn through on this thicker material, but the copper will line all the pieces up and it won't stick. It won't arc off to the steel, so it works pretty good for that too. Now, you all be sure and hang around to the very end of the video. Toward the end of the video, the little woman's going to open all the mail for the last few weeks. I mean, we've got a pile to open, and that's a little woman's job. So hang out. Don't nobody go nowhere. I wonder when the last pencil sharpener was made in Los Angeles, California. Put it in the comments if you know. Now, the most common comment we get on our YouTube videos or on social media posts these days is, when can we get the Bad Coupe t-shirt? Everybody wants the Bad Coupe t-shirt. Well, let me tell you what's going on. You know, the artist, Von Franco, he was working on it and sending us updates, but he had to go in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks, and he's been in there in pretty bad shape from what I understand for a while. He's back home now, and he's on a lot of meds, but he did send me a message last night, and he said when he felt like it, he was trying to work on our artwork a little bit because he knew we were wanting it. But I've told him, you know, it's no rush. We want him to get better first. That's the main thing. But man alive, I want you to take a look at this artwork. This is the latest update he sent me. Notice he's redrawn the old Yeti's face there, the Yeti hide monster. And he's done some more shading. I mean, this is really looking good. He's still got to do the back tire, and he's still got to draw the shifter handle in there, but it looks like it's getting pretty doggone close. Now, once we get this artwork, this is not a digital file. He's actually drawing this with brushes and ink, so he's got to wrap it up and actually ship the piece of artwork to us all the way from California, and then we'll have to get it turned into a digital file, and then we'll have to send it off to get the t-shirts made. So it's going to be still a long while before we actually have t-shirts on the website. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the Yeti Bad Coupe t-shirts. And yes, we're going to put them on the front and on the back both. So if you want your logo on the front or the back, you'll have your choice. This Bosch 90-degree drill, I mean, it's the trick for working inside frame rails. If you need to drill holes inside frame rails, it'll get right in there and get the job done. All right, there's one side all bolted into the frame rail. Everything's tacked together. Nothing's finish welded. I won't finish weld anything probably until I get the whole assembly mocked up, both sides and the plates that connect the two together. I'll probably get all that put together before I do any final welding. But there's everything bolted up like it's going to sit in the frame. We might put 2 more bolts there on the back. I don't know. We'll get to that a little later. But that's what she's going to look like. Everything's fitting good. It feels super solid. And I mean, it's really going to be solid when we get the other side in and get those heavy plates going from one side to the other. I had to cover this up. I kept whomping my old noggin into it, so that's what the green rag's for. So here's the driver's side that we modified compared to the passenger side that has had nothing done to it. You can see the difference there. That's what we had to do to make it work with that T10 transmission. But it's going to be super nice. I might put a little extra fillet in right here, a little piece to make that a little curvier and so not such a hard brake. But the back I'm happy with. All I got to do is do the exact same thing to the other side, which will go a lot faster because I've got a pattern now to go with. And I'll have to make those two plates to connect the two together and then do all the finish welding. Anyway, you guys don't want to see me do the same thing twice. So let's just skip on ahead to Sunday afternoon and the little woman opening the mail.
Happy Sunday. It's been a minute, but today's mail day. We have several packages over the past, few weeks that we haven't gotten to, but we're going to open them now, and if you've had them here for a while, we apologize. Not sure how to open this up. I'm not sure what it is. Dear Pudding Creek and Little Woman, I have enclosed a poster I have had for years in my shop, but no longer have a space for it, so I thought you might like it. And after watching the gas and sign video with the Clint Eastwood poster, I watch your videos every Monday and enjoy all of your ideas and efforts you put into your work on the hot rods. I have been working on a 65 Mustang Fastback and know how much work it takes to get your car to come out the way you want it to. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mark Saul. Uh-oh. Check it out.
The Outlaw Josie Wales. No, it's too cool.
Well, I'm sure we'll find a place for that.
Good googly moogly.
Thank you, Mark.
I reckon so. Press brake.
It's a press brake made and used for about 30 years. Most of all of my metalworking machines are going to be for sale, and we are too old. I have more pics if you're interested.
Huh. That's a fancy press brake. Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Custom rodder.
Carrie from Arizona.
Carrie from Arizona. All right. Thank you, Carrie, for the custom rodder. We'll get a big, strong cup of coffee and get... Oh, I like that one. Look at the cover on that one. That's a cool one right there. They don't get much cooler than a chopped and channeled 32-3 window. All right. Too cool. Thank you, Carrie.
Pudding Creek Rod Shop. Dear Pudding, my wife and I love your show. Please accept these old mags. Maybe if you want more, we could make a trade. for a large woman's t-shirt and an extra large men's shirt if you don't want. It's okay. We have been rodding and fabbing since the early 60s and sparking. We are heading west soon. Here are some photos of our last Model A. We started with a Model A truck, about a 1964, and we'll go out with this coupe. Sky, King, and Penny, you guys are the best. Looking forward to Mondays. Did he say?
There's a
Did I
picture of
misread
an A
something?
model.
That
No.
there was a.
Maybe it's inside one of them books. Maybe I forgot to send it.
Well, I don't know that. Still on the. Oh, neat. It's pretty. I like the purple.
Oh. Purple flames too.
I like it. So they started with a truck, chopped, and filled.
All right, very cool.
Mandrel bender made in house just for this car.
This dude not only builds his own hot rods, he builds his own machines to build the hot rods.
Hand built frame. Cool. Thank you, Sky. And Penny. So, let's see.
Ah, the hag.
When I watched one of your episodes where you played your telly, I thought of my favorite CD, Merle Haggard for the Record. I hope you enjoy it. Dawn Bone? I hope I said that right. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Don. We love old Merle.
This is from Tim Foster, South Carolina. Are you getting a close-up of me chopping my fingers off?
That's right. I need something to show the ER nurses when we get there. How's that happen?
Sleeves. Or that's what we used it for when I worked at DTR.
There you go. Looky there. Papa's getting some new socks for Christmas.
Thank you, Tim. There's my letter or anything that I see.
He was sending us those to protect parts, I think, if I remember right.
Oh.
I think he sent us an email and he said just the perfect thing for us to use to protect parts when we're handling them after they're chromed and so forth.
Well, this is exactly what we used to use to burn, keep from burning ourselves. Cool.
Thanks, Tim.
This is from our pal at Scriva Aviation.
Tools and equipment. All right, we don't have that. We'll check that out. Never seen it before.
Some bag and tag it.
No.
Oh, and
Bag
the
and
tags.
tag it tags. Oh, and the tags to tag it with. Right there. What about that?
Alladine coating.
Oh yeah, that's what you coat aluminum with. Clecos. We put them to use. I usually just use self-tapping sheet metal screws, but grinding wheels, we can definitely use those. Clips. I'll tell you what, Sam Screeva even sent us the tools and everything. How about that? Here's a Cleco tool. Wow. I think he wants us to take our work up to the next level. He's tired of seeing me putting panels together with sheet metal screws. Might have to get a book to see how to use all this. Looky there. Son! We talk about doing some deburring and smoothing now with the roll lock shank.
I think they want you to go to work.
Evidently. Breaks over. Oh, yeah. 4 roll lock pads. You know we put those to good use. Mr. Screeva don't send any frivolous stuff. All his stuff is basically get your butt to work type stuff. All right. We'll have to sit down and go through all this just to see what all it is. More bag and tag bags.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. I think that's all for today. Thank you.
Say thank you to Mr. Screeva there.
I did. Thank
Oh,
you,
all right.
Mr. Screeva. Or maybe I didn't. Thanks. We appreciate it.
So I carried all that stuff over to the shop to start putting it up, and I was going through these magazines here. Man, I really like this red 3-window coupe on the cover of this magazine. Check out that beehive oil filter. Chrome grill shell with a red stripe on top. Never seen that before. Check out how low that thing's channeled. I really like this car. Let's check out the article on it. Well, good night, nurse. Check out that dash. A full panel of gauges, 9 toggle switches. Check out that seat. Look how big and full the seat back is and how thin the seat bottom is and laying right on the floor. That's pretty cool. (1948) Ford taillights. You don't see that on every hot rod. So I'm flipping through these pages of this old 50s magazine, and I'm thinking to myself, why does this car look so familiar to me? I've never seen this magazine before. So I punch in the old Google machine, the Three Dog Garage. That's Ross Meyer's collection of cars up in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. And he's got one of the finest collections of early historical hot rods that are located anywhere in the country. He's even got the Pete Henderson Coupe, the car that was famous for racing a racehorse. So I'm scrolling down through all these really historical hot rods, and bam, there it is. Andy Cass's 3-window coupe, the Ruby Rod. This car still exists. It's kind of like the bad coupe. I mean, that's just too cool, isn't it? The article says that Andy Casa bought this car in New Jersey in 1948. It was a completely stock 32 Ford 3-window coupe, but in 1953 he began customizing it, and over a period of 11 years he made a lot of changes to it, and he showed it on the Rod and Custom circuit all across the country. Then for the 1964 Rod and Custom show car season, he showed up with this one-off radiator grille surround with a single vertical headlight. The unit was designed and crafted and installed by George Barris, the king of customizers, in Hollywood, California. The new front-end treatment earned the car the nickname the Cyclops Coupe. And old George Barris, he designed this front end kind of like he did the one on the Little Deuce Coupe and the one on the a la carte. As we leave you guys today, I'm going to leave you with some of these old historical pictures. This is Bill Hines when he visited Junior Conway's shop during the restoration of the a la carte. I just thought these old pictures were too cool. Now, if you enjoyed today's show, leave us a comment and let us know. If you want to support the channel, the best way you can support the channel is to sign up for a YouTube account if you don't have one already, and then subscribe. A lot of people get confused on this. You cannot subscribe unless you have a YouTube account. Now, it doesn't cost you a dime to set up a YouTube account, and it does not cost you a dime to subscribe. And that's the best way to support the channel. If you want a Puddin' Creek t-shirt or a coffee mug or a sticker or some other assorted Puddin' Creek junk, just go over to puddinCreek.com. And I know I've already said it, but the little woman says, show's just not ended unless I say this at the end of every show. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.